All right, next up is a little man with big jokes. Let's meet 12-year-old Lil JJ.
Hey, I'm Lil JJ from Little Rock, Arkansas. And the reason why I think I'm gonna win is because I'm the hardest working young man in the showbiz.
This is, I kind of want to open this up because there's a whole thing going on right now with child actors. I'm gonna read a post by Jay Lewis, aka Lil JJ. He posted on Facebook, Just Jordan got canceled. I ain't giving up no ass, LOL.
Remember Lil JJ, the 11-year-old prodigy from Little Rock, Arkansas, who stepped on that Bet stage and crushed grown comedians like it was nothing? The kid had the whole audience in shock, and for a moment, it looked like he was unstoppable. But his sudden disappearance from Hollywood will blow your mind. Within just 2 years, Nickelodeon gave him his very own sitcom. By 2008, poof, gone. The boy wonder who seemed untouchable had vanished from the spotlight.
Boy went to college, like, you know what I mean? He went and did something else, like. And like, it's so crazy because of what he did in his childhood, people are frowned like, what are you doing in college?
Years later, in 2024, the Quiet on Set documentary dropped, and Lil JJ finally broke his silence with 4 words that shook the entire industry. So what really happened to the child comic who looked destined for superstardom? It all began on Halloween night, October 31st, 1990. James Charles Lewis II was born in Little Rock with a gift so powerful it would make people laugh until they cried. But it also carried a dark price that would haunt his childhood. As the oldest of 4 kids, James discovered early that his jokes could silence a room of adults, not with polite chuckles, but with genuine gut-busting laughter that left people stunned. By the age of 8, James was already a local sensation, performing at talent shows, church gatherings, and anywhere with a crowd. His parents saw the spark in him, but they had no clue how dangerous that gift could become once Hollywood came knocking. While other kids were glued to video games, James was busy writing material sharp enough to rival professional comedians. The Lewis household turned into his stage. Dinner turned into comedy night, where he tested jokes on his 3 younger siblings. Teachers noticed too. While classmates stumbled through show and tell, James delivered hilarious, perfectly timed observations that had the whole class howling. By 4th grade, he wasn't just the class clown, he was the star of the room. His humor wasn't mean or silly, it was smart, observational, and had adults whispering that this kid was something special. At 9 years old, James took on his first real audience at a local talent show. The boy was so small, he had to stand on a box just to reach the mic. The crowd expected a cute little routine, but what they got was 5 minutes of sharp comedy about how kids and adults see the world differently.
Y'all really be lying? When y'all really be lying is when y'all whooping us. Talking about, I'm whooping you cause I love you.
His delivery was flawless, his confidence was electric, and the audience couldn't get enough. Word spread fast across Little Rock's tight entertainment scene. A 4th grader with the timing of a seasoned pro? It sounded impossible, but it was real. Soon, even local comedy clubs were calling, begging James to perform alongside grown men twice his size. At first, James's parents weren't sure about letting their son step into the spotlight. The idea of their 10-year-old performing in front of strangers made them nervous. But James wouldn't let up. He was determined to prove himself. Finally, they gave in and agreed to let him perform at a family-friendly comedy showcase. What happened that night shocked everyone. Standing under the bright lights, James faced a crowd of over 200 adults who had come expecting to see seasoned comics. Instead, they got a 10-year-old with the stage presence of a star. His material wasn't just cute kid jokes. It was sharp, funny, and clean, yet still hilarious. By the time he wrapped his set, the crowd was on their feet, giving him a 5-minute standing ovation that felt like forever. Comedy club owners rushed his parents after the show, begging to book James regularly. Overnight, James Charles Lewis II had gone from a neighborhood talent to a hometown celebrity. Then came 2003. James was only 11 when his family discovered BT's Coming to the Stage, a nationwide talent search for the next big comedian. James didn't have Hollywood coaching or fancy cameras. He recorded his audition right at home in Arkansas, armed with nothing but raw talent and an old-school camcorder. Weeks later, the phone rang and the news was insane. BT wanted James in Los Angeles for the live competition. His parents scrambled, maxing out credit cards just to get their son to California. Backstage at the BET studios, James stood surrounded by grown comedians with decades of experience. Any other kid would have been shaking in their sneakers, but not him. When his name was called, he stepped onto that stage like he owned it, and then he obliterated the competition. His jokes hit every time, his confidence was unshakable, and the crowd couldn't believe a child could command the stage like that. Even the veteran comics were stunned, watching in disbelief as this tiny kid from Arkansas ran circles around them. When the judges crowned James Charles Lewis II as the winner, they weren't just giving a trophy to a child star, they were unleashing a force the industry wasn't ready for. Hollywood had no plan for how to protect a kid this talented, and that would prove dangerous down the line. From that moment on, the offers came pouring in. Talent agents, managers, and promoters all wanted a piece of the miracle kid who could make audiences laugh until they cried. Clubs billed him as the youngest professional comedian in America. TV stations lined up interviews, and comedy festivals bent their own rules just to showcase him. But then came Hollywood. Scouts started flying into Arkansas, showing up in slick rental cars and tailored suits, waving contracts that promised life-changing wealth.
All right, next up is a little man with big jokes. Let's meet 12-year-old Lil JJ.
Hey, I'm Lil JJ from Little Rock, Arkansas, and the reason why I think I'm gonna win this, because I'm the hardest working young man in the showbiz.
They painted a glittering future. Movies, sitcoms, merchandise, fame, and generational money beyond what the Lewis family could ever imagine. James was hooked. He begged his parents to let him chase this destiny, and every day stuck in Arkansas felt like wasted time. Finally, in 2004, the family gave in and made the boldest move of their lives. They packed up everything and headed straight to Los Angeles. The move felt like stepping into another world. Arkansas was safe, small, and familiar. Los Angeles, it was dazzling, overwhelming, and full of sharks circling their son's talent. Los Angeles was a whole new beast. The city buzzed with talent, but it also chewed up and spit out anyone who wasn't ready for the game. The competition was brutal, the cost of living sky high, and the entertainment industry ran on unspoken rules outsiders had no clue about. At just 14, James, now going by Lil JJ, was suddenly in the middle of this storm, chasing roles in Hollywood. His edge, comedy. While most child actors stuck to stiff, memorized lines, Lil JJ came alive with improvisation. He flipped scripts, added his own spice, and made characters feel real. That spark set him apart, and Nickelodeon noticed. At the time, the network was desperate. Their legendary sketch show, all that had been losing steam, and they needed someone to breathe life back into it.
With all of that, when entertaining you. With all of that. My posse and my crew.
In 2005, Lil JJ auditioned for All That's 10th season, going head-to-head with dozens of other kids. The moment he hit the stage, something clicked. His years of live stand-up experience flowed seamlessly into sketch comedy. Executives were floored, not just by his talent, but by how polished and professional he was for a teenager. They handed him a prize spot on the show, giving him the keys to the vital information segment. And just like that, Lil JJ wasn't just a hometown sensation anymore. He was a national star. Millions of kids tuned in weekly to watch his segments, laughing at his effortless timing, while parents admired that his comedy was funny and clean. But behind the bright lights, Nickelodeon's world wasn't so innocent. Sets were controlled by adults who treated child stars more like products than people. Schedules were grueling, friendships were nearly impossible, and the pressure to stay funny, marketable, and safe for TV never let up. For a teenager, it was a heavy load, but Lil JJ carried it with style. His sketches pulled strong ratings and became the highlight of the show, forcing Nickelodeon to admit he was the spark they'd been missing. Executives wanted more. They didn't just want him on a sketch show, they wanted to build around him. So in an unprecedented move for someone his age, Nickelodeon gave Lil JJ his very own sitcom. On January 7th, 2007, Just Jordan premiered, instantly pulling ratings higher than expected. The storyline followed Jordan Lewis, a 16-year-old from Arkansas who moves to Los Angeles to live with his grandfather and help in the family diner, a concept eerily similar to JJ's real life.
President. You know what ain't right? They would never let a kid be president. Don't you think it's time they did? Grown-ups been messing up the planet for a good long time.
This wasn't just another Nickelodeon project. This was validation. At 17, Lil JJ had his name in lights, his face on billboards, and the weight of an entire show on his shoulders. He was the lead, the brand, the reason viewers tuned in every week. And the first season's 13 episodes introduced audiences to Jordan's world. His younger sister Monica, his strict mom, his no-nonsense grandpa, and his ride-or-die friends Joaquin and Tony. The writing struck a balance between goofy kid humor and emotional family moments, making the series relatable to both children and parents. Critics praised the show for its authenticity, something rare in Nickelodeon sitcoms. Unlike other young actors who sounded robotic, Lil JJ poured real emotion into his lines, bringing honesty and charm to every scene. And there was something groundbreaking behind the scenes, too.
I might be tall, but this kid got skills. Or not.
Just Jordan was produced by Ralph Farquhar, an African-American powerhouse with credits on Moshe, The Parkers, and The Proud Family. For Nickelodeon, this was a big deal. It wasn't just another cookie-cutter sitcom. It had culture, it had credibility, and it had Lil JJ leading the charge. But while it looked like everything was falling into place, the reality of Hollywood was about to creep in. Fame wasn't just opportunity, it was a trap, and Lil JJ was walking straight into it. Even with a respected black producer at the helm, that didn't shield Lil JJ from the brutal realities of Hollywood. Sure, it gave him some protection from the worst environments, but the pressure never let up. As the star of Just Jordan, the entire weight of the show sat on his shoulders. A teenager carrying the responsibility of dozens of crew members' livelihoods. The pressure was crushing. If JJ wasn't funny, if the ratings dipped, the whole operation could collapse. By September 2007, the second season hit the airwaves, this time filmed in front of a live studio audience. The laughs were real, the energy was electric, but so was the stress. The storylines became bigger, more complex, and JJ was being pushed to prove he wasn't just a kid comic, but a true actor. Critics applauded, the ratings held steady, and Nickelodeon began whispering about a potential third season. Then, disaster hit. On November 5th, 2007, the Writers Guild of America strike slammed Hollywood, shutting down nearly every scripted show overnight. Just Jordan was caught in the crossfire. Episodes already filmed trickled onto TV, but production froze.
Everything in production was totally screwed. It had to stop entirely or work without a writer.
For big established shows, the strike was a headache. For a fresh series still building momentum, it was deadly. The strike dragged on for 100 grueling days, finally ending in February 2008. But by then, Just Jordan had lost its steam. Viewers moved on. They didn't come back in the same numbers, and that's when Nickelodeon made the cold call. Despite 29 episodes, positive reviews, and a breakout star, Just Jordan was axed. The final episode aired on August 23, 2008. Lil JJ was only 18, legally an adult, but still a kid at heart, left standing in the wreckage of the show that defined his teenage years. And here's where things got truly strange. Normally, a canceled show isn't the end. Talented actors get scooped up for new roles. Their agents push fresh auditions. Casting directors remember their work. Careers keep moving. But not for JJ. Instead of opportunity, he was met with silence. Phone calls stopped. Promising projects suddenly fell apart or went forward with someone else. The industry that had celebrated him months earlier now acted like he didn't exist. To insiders, it felt like he had been quietly blacklisted. Whispers spread fast. Some insiders claimed JJ had become difficult to work with, but no one could point to a single incident. Others said he was stuck in limbo, too old to keep playing the child star role, too young to land adult gigs. But there was another possibility, one far more unsettling. Lil JJ wasn't like other child stars. He didn't just follow instructions like a puppet. His stand-up background had taught him to think fast, to improvise, to trust his instincts.
Feel good, you know, this give me a chance to just connect with all my fellow peers and stuff and, you know, kind of just enjoy the game and, you know.
He was independent, creative, and sharp enough to challenge authority. And in an industry built on control, that scared people. Hollywood expected its child performers to smile, stay obedient, and never rock the boat. They wanted kids who were easy to manage, who said yes to every demand, but Lil JJ, he wasn't built that way. And that independence, the very thing that made him brilliant, may have been the very reason Hollywood shut the door on him. Lil JJ never played by Hollywood's script. Even as a young teen, he spoke up, offering ideas for his characters, pitching jokes, and suggesting ways to improve scenes. To any normal industry, that would have been celebrated as raw creativity. But in Hollywood, that kind of independence was treated like rebellion, and the punishment was brutal. The message was clear. If Lil JJ refused to be a compliant child star, then Hollywood would make sure he wasn't a star at all. Shut out of opportunities. JJ made choices that may have saved his sanity, but also pushed him further from the spotlight. He enrolled at Arkansas Baptist College, diving into education instead of chasing the fame machine. He joined Omega Sci-Fi, building brotherhood and connections outside the cutthroat world of entertainment. But he also started speaking candidly about what it was really like to grow up in the glare of Hollywood lights. He admitted the pressure of carrying a TV show as a kid, the exhaustion of growing up in public, and the difficulty of trying to transition into adult roles when the industry had already boxed him in. For his own mental health, these reflections were a breakthrough. But for Hollywood, they were dangerous. A young actor openly admitting the truth about the system, that marked him as a potential whistleblower. And in an industry that thrives on secrets, honesty is a crime. The silence around JJ only grew louder. Roles dried up, auditions vanished, and it felt like his future had been erased on purpose. Still, he refused to disappear completely. For more than a decade, he hustled on the margins of entertainment, taking small parts here and there, popping up on Wild 'N Out, and hitting comedy clubs across the country to keep his craft alive.
Might let that might be true. Yeah. But Lil JJ, we ain't seen your ass since Comic View.
He was surviving, yes, but the glory days of Nickelodeon were a distant memory. Then came March 2024. Everything changed overnight. Investigation Discovery dropped Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV, and the world was rocked. The documentary peeled back layers of horror inside Nickelodeon, decades of abuse, exploitation, and a culture of silence that protected predators at the expense of children. The revelations left even Hollywood veterans stunned. Dan Schneider, the so-called king of Nickelodeon, was exposed for creating toxic, dangerous sets. Former child stars spoke up with harrowing stories. Drake Bell admitted he was abused by Nickelodeon dialogue coach Brian Peck starting when he was just 15.
Brian and I became really close because we had a lot of the same interests, which, looking back, I think that was probably a little calculated.
The dominoes started to fall fast. Audiences began demanding answers about other Nickelodeon stars. What really happened to Amanda Bynes? Why did Jeanette McCurdy walk away? And one name that kept surfacing again and again, what about Lil JJ? He had been right there in the middle of it all, Nickelodeon's rising star, and then suddenly, gone. Viewers swarmed social media, tagging him relentlessly. Tell your story, they wrote. What did you see? The implication was chilling. If Lil JJ was on those sets, then he must have witnessed something, maybe even experienced it himself. The pressure on Lil JJ to finally speak was suffocating. After Quiet on Set aired, social media painted every Nickelodeon kid with the same brush. If you were on those sets, people assumed you were a victim too. For stars like JJ, the choice was brutal. Either claim trauma he hadn't lived or risk looking cold and unsympathetic to those who had. On March 20th, 2024, JJ finally cracked the silence with a Facebook post that spread like wildfire. He typed out just 4 words, blunt, raw, and shocking to anyone who remembered the clean-cut kid from Just Jordan. Screenshots went viral within hours. The phrasing was crude, but the meaning couldn't have been clearer. Lil JJ was saying he had not been sexually abused at Nickelodeon. He wasn't going to let public pressure force him into a narrative that wasn't his truth.
I'm gonna read a post by Jay Lewis, aka Lil JJ. He posted on Facebook, "Just Jordan got canceled. I ain't giving up no ass. LOL."
Reactions split instantly. Some applauded his honesty, praising him for refusing to weaponize victimhood he never experienced. Others slammed him for his tone, calling it insensitive and dismissive toward real survivors. But the reality was more layered than either side wanted to admit. That post wasn't just a denial, it was a declaration of independence. Lil JJ was making it known that he hadn't disappeared from Hollywood because of trauma. He vanished because he wouldn't bow down, wouldn't play puppet, and wouldn't let executives script his life. For years, people wondered if abuse had broken him, but JJ revealed a darker truth. It wasn't predators that ended his career. It was Hollywood's obsession with control. He wasn't employable because he was outspoken, because he thought for himself, because he wasn't willing to let the industry box him in like a toy to be sold. Instead of grooming him as their golden boy, they quietly erased him. No messy scandals, no dramatic fall, just a calculated freeze out. By refusing to conform, he became the one thing Hollywood hates most: untouchable on his own terms. They didn't destroy Lil JJ with trauma, they destroyed him with silence, with locked doors, with contracts that never came. They took one of the most gifted young comics of his generation and buried his career simply because he wouldn't surrender. Lil JJ's raw, unfiltered response pulled back the curtain on something darker than anyone expected. The entertainment industry didn't have to abuse every child star to keep control. No, the system was smarter than that. All they had to do was destroy a few careers loud enough, publicly enough to scare the rest into silence. And that's exactly what they did with Lil JJ. He became the warning shot, the example of what happens when a kid dares to stay independent in an industry built on obedience. His career was snuffed out not because of a lack of talent, but because he wouldn't play by their rules. But here's the twist Hollywood didn't see coming. JJ refused to disappear quietly. They killed his career, but they couldn't kill his voice. By speaking his truth, even crudely, he exposed the way the machine really operates. That honesty, that independence, it was the biggest rebellion of all. And it leaves us with one damning truth. Hollywood doesn't just use child stars, it controls them. And when control fails, careers vanish. Lil JJ's story is living proof of that. What do you think? Was Lil JJ blacklisted for being too independent, or is there more to the story that's still being hidden? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the scandals they don't want you to know about. I'll catch you in the next one.